Hi, it's Steve and Joe from our hotel in Amsterdam at 5:30 in the morning, local time, showing our dedication to our tens of fans by doing a video.
We've hauled this camera gear across the US and now into Europe, and we can bloody use it.
Yeah.
Right? So here's a weekly take, a little later than we normally put together because we've had a sleep.
Yeah.
And for those worried about any, we're a married couple, so this is our hotel room, it's the clothing in the background, etc. Let's kick on.
Yep.
This week, we'll just do a quick what matters. The stuff we're talking about as we go around. GDT result, and obviously the compelling chart of the week.
Yeah, can't wait.
So this is something from our analysis. We're going to be using this in a few meetings, conference presentations in the next couple of weeks. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all these points.
Pause the video if you want to have a really good look.
Yeah, read carefully. A couple of things stand out in this GDT event, which we wanted to call up this issue of affordability in developing markets, and that's no doubt a pressing issue, but we've got other, we've got limitations on supply, and certainly that's a factor. But then COVID policy in China has had markets in a fair bit of uncertainty for a few weeks. Certainly we picked up big time in the US.
Sure has, yeah.
So that's what's behind this.
Yeah.
So not the worst. I mean, the index went down 8.5, I think. I'm a little rusty because it's early. Not the worst percentage drop ever, but the worst since the market lost its nerve in 2015. We had a few of these type, this type percentage change in a few events. So, but you see the heaviest impact on fats,
yes,
which were at extreme levels. So that's not surprising. The powder losses were mild in comparison.
Yeah.
Where the biggest problem with the lockdowns is the import demand for whole milk powder. That's the one that came out, relatively unscathed, but it's the fourth drop in a row, so it is quite a correction we've seen.
Yeah.
And the movements in the background, it's quite mixed, as you see. And strangely, the European market's been softening a bit. Though all the news out of there is that it's harder to make skim milk powder now with
out of here.
Yeah, out of here. That's right. That's where we are. Yeah. And elsewhere it's a bit mixed. This is the story of the event. The weakest ever starting demand of rounds 1 to 6 in fats.
Yeah.
And as you see, whole milk powder was bad, but not as bad as the other categories. I think skim milk powder is interesting. That's obviously connected to the Chinese because they are the largest buyer on this platform, and this is all about this platform. Just picked out two of those rolling average demand, as we see the supply and demand ratios. We track several metrics out of that, and this just shows how whole milk powder just never got to previous events. More on offer, so
it went on for longer.
It went on for longer, but the level of intensity was
just not there.
Not there, and the butter fat or the butter chart is weird because that just never happened at all. AMF looks the same. So that's the real story here. China bought more. Yeah. In both powders. Yep. Percentage wise, it's a big jump, and then in actual tonnage. So there's more offered in this event. 2,500 more, 2,800 more tons of whole milk powder. So they've stepped up. It's simply, as the event dragged on, they bought more of what was on offer, but simply not the level of participation that makes the mechanism stronger.
Same for skim here.
Same for skim. Really looks similar. A little weaker on the right-hand side there. So, Joe, chart of the week. This is brief, isn't it?
Well, it is really brief because we're tired. But the chart of the week is really the New Zealand exports to China. It was pretty mixed overall, wasn't it? These are March figures, so interesting to see this is the latest, export data we've got. New Zealand's whole milk powder exports to China aren't that far down at this stage.
At this stage, yeah.
And it was pretty mixed results. You know, New Zealand's really stepped up and filled the hole for skim milk powder out of Europe. But yeah, we'll be watching these in the next few months to see.
They'll change.
How this goes. But, you know, pretty mixed results out of New Zealand. So is it time to panic yet, Steve?
No, look, I think there's a factor in that earlier chart when we put up those things to the moving parts that matter.
Yep.
There'll be some short-term increase in output in whole milk powder in China.
Yes.
But there'll be a whip effect when they come back. So it's short-term. Everyone's very worried, but watch what happens when things come back to life, or the government is going to pump a lot of stimulus into that economy to activate trade. So. You know, this happened after COVID and China surged. You can see it in those numbers there in the green line. So yeah, it ain't over yet. Yeah,
still when you go back to that chart, it's still mostly bullish factors, and it's still a very tight market. So
that's right. Well, that's all from us. We really appreciate you got up so early to watch us. Oh well.